Hello, and thank you for joining us today on this episode of Transit Clips. Friends, today we have a special operator with us named James Fischer. James Fischer, come on down. Michael Dennis, our Secretary Treasurer, is going to be joining us as well. We're going to be telling you guys a little bit of what happened with James Fischer and his paychecks, his pay issues. So just a real brief, quick synopsis. James Fischer here went out on leave. Some of it was paid, some of it was unpaid. Unfortunately, the agency sort of mishmashed this leave and gave him sort of a new timeline of when he would be maxing out in pay, and some of his money was also missing. James did his due diligence. He scrutinized his paychecks and saw that there was a discrepancy. What did he do? Reached out to the union. Reached out to Secretary Treasurer Michael Dennis. And James, why don't you give us a little bit of a background, what happened and where we're at?
Sure. Well, I'll start at the end, and the end is I am at the correct pay rate now, and there was actually some reimbursement that I needed to get, which I got, and so I'm happy, and that happened almost immediately when Mr. Dennis intervened on my behalf. The whole thing, the short story is, I was on leave for about a year. 9.5 months of that was unpaid leave, 2.5 months was paid leave. The reason why doesn't matter, but I think the folks at payroll seemed to kind of mix up my unpaid time with my paid time, and I think they were looking at the entire year as being unpaid leave. So then when I started to look at my paycheck and my pay steps, I thought there was a discrepancy and that I should have been on a higher pay scale. So I contacted the payroll a few times to discuss it. I didn't really make not too much progress was made. Yeah, I don't know, maybe they're overwhelmed or whatever. But finally, when I contacted you, who put me in touch with Mr. Dennis, it was very, very short order that I'm now at the correct pay rate, and I received some back pay, and now I'm also on the correct timeline to be at full pay.
So, in short, 3 things. James Fischer is now at the correct pay rate.
Yes.
James Fischer received a nice amount of back pay, correct?
Very nice.
And James Fischer is now on the correct wage progression, so he's going to be maxing out in pay at the correct time, because before the agency had messed up and said that he was going to be maxing out in pay at like 2 or 3 months later. Is that correct, James?
Exactly.
Okay, and so James did his due diligence, scrutinized his paychecks, noticed that there was a problem with it, reached out to the union, we got it fixed. So what is the point here? The point in the message that we have always been trying to get across to you guys is scrutinize your paycheck, scrutinize your money, scrutinize the hours that you work, because when you do that, oftentimes, friends, you are going to find that there is some type of a discrepancy with what you normally work. So please scrutinize your money. Had James Fischer not scrutinized his paycheck, we would not have known about it. Michael Dennis is one person, and he cannot take care of 2,000 plus operators. That's where you, on an individual basis, have to come in, scrutinize your stuff, and then reach out to your union chairperson in case you do happen to see a discrepancy, so that the union can get involved. That's what we are here to do, to help, assist, and bring positive results, just like we did for James Fischer. Michael, go ahead. You're the one that helped out James Fischer. Go ahead.
Exactly. It's exactly as you said, Roger. It's real. This is an example of how important it is to look at your check and make sure that you understand your check and that you are being paid correctly. None of this would have even been noticed. James was on a track that was basically 2 or 3 months delayed because of them counting his off time as unpaid. And that would have just gone unnoticed if James had not, said, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't look right, and all that. And so he wouldn't have got the back pay that made up for the last step pay that didn't happen on time. And the final one wouldn't have been changed either. It would have been delayed. So it's just a reminder to make sure that you understand your check, and if it doesn't look right, reach out to your union right away.
Absolutely. So, friends, thank you so much for joining us today, and we're going to be bringing you more transit clips as we go out later on this year with good, positive, uplifting video clips from our members highlighting the good, the positive, the benefits that come from your union representatives. James Fisher, anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of happened in steps, because when I finally heard from payroll that I would be at my new next pay step, that was good news, but it wasn't at the right time. So I had asked Roger, Mr. Marenko, and Mr. Dennis for payroll to do an audit of my hours, because I just saw that something wasn't right. So indeed, they went in there and looked at the numbers and found out that, oh no, it's not just this block of time. There's 2.5 months that I was on a paid leave, so they kind of recalculated everything. So I guess what I want to say is you have to stay with it, and like Mr. Marenko says, you need to also do your own due diligence and stay with it, stay with it, stay with it. You know, be relentless. Look at your paycheck. If you see something might be wrong or it doesn't add up to you, please speak up. We're out there working. You know, I was telling Mr. Marenko that before this all got resolved, and I'm driving my route, I'm looking at some of the back of the buses, and there's the recruit, you know, come join us and be a part of our team, and, you know, great pay, great benefits, and that's all true. But we always have to be proactive. If we sense something might be wrong, please follow through, do your work, and contact your union representatives, Mr. Marenko, Mr. Dennis. There's never been a time that I've contacted them, particularly in this issue, when I didn't hear back from them within 24 hours like that. This is a beautiful resolution. I couldn't have asked for more. Thank you, both of you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, James Fisher. 2 thumbs up. All right, you guys. Until next time, stay safe out there, all right?
Thank you.